What kind of raider are you? Are you the type of raider that steps into an encounter with the hopes that it's going to be an easy fight with a big reward? Or are you the raider that your team depends on? The one that has the answers and ideas on how to make sure that your team gets that kill? If you're already that raider, well, welcome home. If you want to be that person, you have come to the right place. It's time to sit down with the Raid Mechanics.
Welcome to BlizzPro TV's Raid Mechanics. We're here to sit down with you for the next hour or so and bring you all the information, tips, and tricks you need for your raid team to be successful as possible. Why? Because there's no reason you shouldn't get that kill. So, who are these mechanics that are going to help you lead your team to victory? Let's make a few introductions. First off, a regular contributor to WoW Insider, priest, and GM of a 25-man raiding guild, master of his own little domain on the internet called the World of Mechainics, the Grand Poobah himself, Mechainics. Hello, sir.
Sup?
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Doing well. Let's get on to the next co-host, the next mechanic. From the top raid team in Twisted Emperor on Cool Taras, and a history of regular and heroic progression raiding, as long as my arm. Please welcome to the show the master of the Druid class, Lucian.
Man, you got short arms. I don't know about that.
They're pretty long.
Wow.
Got some distance.
Not even like a minute in and the zingers are coming out.
Jeez.
Yeah, so last but not least, I'm your host, Houndstooth. I'm a heroic raider on Icecrown with the Vindicatum Guild, and I'm here to help you guys become the same thing if you want to. So let's get started. First off, we're going to go over our week. So, Mechainics, why don't you lead us off? How's your raid week been?
Raid week's been going really well for us. We actually took down Heroic Protectors on Tuesday.
Very nice.
And we beat our heads against the wall on Heroic Norishan the rest of the night and managed to get him again on Thursday at just before raid cutoff, actually. The very last attempt on the night where everyone's all like tired and exhausted and all that stuff. And just out of nowhere, someone drops a train and then we kill him because I got so pissed off. Dude, whoever dropped that train is not going to get loot. But it turns out we actually managed to kill him. So now I'm a very superstitious individual.
And you're going to drop a train.
I'm probably going to have to drop a train every time we get to a progression bar.
Well,
That's my week.
If it works.
Yeah, well.
And Lucian, how's yours been?
Well, this past week, finally got down normal mode Garrosh and stepped into Heroics this week.
Congrats.
That Garrosh fight is brutal. Stepped in and started working on Heroic Immersus, last night, I guess. And then that didn't go so well, so we're going to be going back in there tonight and trying to work out the kinks and get it down.
Heroic Mercies will get you. He'll splash you. Watch out. And I guess my week's been going pretty well. We got down 10 out of 14 Heroic in one night, 3 hours. So we will get to kill Thok and move on to Siegecrafter tonight, which I'm actually looking forward to. I've heard it's one of the most difficult encounters. And I remember back when Blood Legion was getting to it, they were talking how it was one of the best encounters they had seen, so I'm pretty excited. So every week we're going to go over a little bit about a fight. We're going to break it down for you, talk about some of the tips and tricks that we have. And this week we have decided to go with Immersus. So, Lucian, if you want to break down Immersus for us.
Alright, so Immersus is a two-phase fight. The two phases are pretty simple. The first phase, you're going to be dealing with Immersus himself. The second phase, you're going to be dealing with an add phase or the transition phase. So right off the bat, with Immersus, you're going to have 4 basic mechanics that you're going to have to deal with. The first one is the Shaw Bolt, and that's what is going to spawn little puddles under each raider. Now, to deal with these, all you really want to do is just move out of them as quickly as possible to minimize the amount of damage coming in. The next ability he's got in the first phase, when you're actually burning him, is Swirl. Now what Swirl does is it's a frontal conal attack. He's going to point in a random direction, and he is going to rotate clockwise around the room. So to deal with that, you can either outrange it, you can outrun it, or you can run back through it to minimize the amount of damage that you're going to take if you are going to get hit by it. The last ability that he really has that you really need to make sure you're aware of is Corrosive Blast. Now this is an ability that's specific to tanks or whoever currently has aggro on him. And what this does is it's going to do a big amount of damage, and it's going to put a debuff on the tank, which is going to increase their damage taken by the next Corrosive Blast by about 300% per stack. So to deal with this, again, this is another frontal conal attack. So that means only your tank should be where your tank is. No one else should be in that area at all to deal with that. And you're going to want a tank swap on each application of this just to make sure that you don't get one shot by the next one coming in. Now you can take 2, even 3 stacks of this, but it gets a little hairy if you're taking too many stacks, and you can get one shot pretty quickly. Now the second phase, the transition phase, you're going to have adds that spawn. Now how to deal with this is there's 2 different color adds. There's black adds and there's green adds, or white adds, whatever you want to call them, light blue, greenish. The black adds are the DPS adds, and you just want to burn those down as quickly as you can. Spread the group around the room, associate everyone to a section of the room, all your DPS, and you're going to want to burn these down quickly. The healing adds just need to be healed up as you heal them. They get slower in moving, so you're going to want to heal those up as quickly as possible. Now, as all of the adds get back to the center of the room, they're going to respawn Immersus when all the adds get there, if they all get there. All the healing adds will eventually get there, but the DPS ones, assuming that you DPS them all down, they won't make it. Now, upon making it to the center of the room, they're going to cause a bit of raid-wide damage. So healers need to keep an eye on this, just because it can get a little hairy if you get 7 or 8 of these things hitting all at once. You can take a lot of raid damage. That's basically the basis of the mechanics of the fight. Hounds, why don't you go into a bit of the strat for how to actually deal with the, positioning and whatnot?
Yeah. So I guess one of the first questions you might ask you is, do I need 2 tanks for this, or can we get away with 1 tanking and up the DPS? That really is going to depend on what tanks you have. Death Knights are really great for this. They've got a lot of ways to dodge magic damage. Paladins are also great. So you really want to take stock of where your DPS is at. It might be better to put a little pressure on your tank just to get some extra DPS to get this guy down. Your tank is going to stand on one quadrant or one section of that pie that shows up in the room. And you don't want anyone near you. In fact, I'll look out for healers that start to wander or something like that to make sure that they don't get in that way. But generally, 2 tanking is the safest way to make this happen. And if you're going to 2 tank it, swap off with every other stack of Corrosive Blast. You're going to want to spread the rest of your raid around the room. And use any cooldowns as soon as Corrosive Blast is going to happen. Tanks that can move adds or stun them, you should also be doing that to help kill the adds. But outside of that, it's a pretty standard mechanic. It's a combination. So don't worry too much about it. Use your cooldowns before blast as a tank. Any healing cooldowns that you have to help heal the adds up is great. But pretty standard. Do your damage, kill the adds, stun the ones you can, and you'll be set. Now, as far as DPS strategy, I'm going to hand that over to Mechainics, because I don't really know how that goes. So, yeah. Mechainics, why don't you lead us off?
Sure. Before I start, I should probably say that I did spend the first couple of years in the game being a healer, and it was just this expansion I started DPSing. So if I ever screw up in the future, you can probably blame these 2 for making me go DPS. Just saying. Okay, so DPS-wise, the first thing you should probably do when you start the encounter is use heroism, or bloodlust if you belong to that other faction. Anyways,
better faction.
Yeah, but because he starts off at full health, you want to make maximum use of your cooldowns and all that stuff. So use the hero lust right away, immediately. Aside from that, the little puddles that form, if you're really, really good about it, you can kind of time your GCDs and just move as your GCD is on cooldown and while you're casting your spells. Otherwise, if it's on normal, don't even worry about it too much. If you get caught, you get caught. So, but this is just more for the advanced stuff. It'll come in handy on Heroic way later when we get to that around episode 15, I want to say, ish. We'll cover that later. I'm getting way ahead of myself right now. But that's essentially just more phase 1. As Hound said, don't stand behind the tanks. If you stand behind the tanks, you're probably going to die. Spread yourselves out around the room. I rate on 25, so it's a little bit easier for us to have a good number of players and have maximum coverage all around the giant circle. If we're on 10-man, I found a little bit, not challenging, but it can be a little bit tough to really get to all the different places that the slimes and stuff will pop out in phase 2. Oh, speaking of phase 2, keep your head up. When he transitions, all little puddles will come flying out, and there's like 2 colors. You got the blue one, which is the healing one, and the black one, which is the the DPS one that you want. And if you're standing in an area where there's no DPSable slimes coming out, just mosey on over. That's not exactly your cue to just sit there and do nothing. You got to do something, right? You got to help your team out. So by all means, just move over to the side and help DPS whatever ants come out, and stay close to them when they die, because you do gain a slight buff. I don't remember how much, but it is a buff, and it'll help you DPS the slimes. So, there was one more thing. Death Knights, DPS Death Knights. You can definitely death grip any DPS ads that are getting close to the boss. If they kind of get too close, you just pull them back and finish them off. And remember that the more damage they take, the slower they move. So get a good chunk, use your AoE right away. Like as a Shadow Priest, I like to use Halo, because it does, time the distance perfectly so that when it lands, your Halo just hits them. You can knock off a good 30% of their health, right away. So it's really handy. And that's it for me. Jordan, how about you? How about the healing?
It's for healing, kind of on the same slight as the Death Knights. Priests and Restoration Druids who can put a symbiosis on a priest, you can life grip the healing ads. So if you're finding that a couple of them are making it through, whether they're just a little bit too quick and you're not getting as many heals as you want out on them, and you're just not able to get them up right away, you can actually life grip them back and give yourself a little bit more time. Now for priests specific, Halo is an exceptional ability on this fight. You're going to cover a wide range of the ads, particularly if they're really stacked up. My suggestion though is, like the DPS, if you're standing close to one of the ads as it dies, or as it's healed up rather, you're going to gain a healing buff. And I believe the DPS one's about 30%, and it's similar to the healing one. I think it's a 30% buff to DPS and healing. So what you want to do for priest is you want to run up to one, you want to focus on them with, particularly disc priest with penance, get them up really quick. If you're a holy priest, you want to just throw a couple flash heals on them, heal one up really fast, and then pop Halo. You're going to find that that's going to cover a lot of ads really quickly. Now for druids on this fight, druids have an exceptional ability of being able to clean up multiple ads that are close together by using Wild Mushroom. Now Wild Mushroom is probably one of the most overpowered abilities in this fight, because if you have 4 or 5 of those ads that are closely stacked together, you just position it so that you're going to get as many of them as you can in that circle, in the little green circle from the Wild Mushroom. And when you pop it, it's going to completely fill their health with one global cooldown. Now, outside of that, you're probably going to want to be using your regrowths, your nourish if one's really close to being healed up but not quite. Just be mindful of your mana use on this fight. Now, other than priests and druids, shamans kind of have a bit of an issue on this transition aspect of this fight, for the simple fact that a lot of your heals are quite slow and don't really, all your heals are primary single target. I don't suggest spamming chain heal on this part of the fight during the transition, because you're going to tap your mana pretty quickly and it's not overly effective, particularly if you don't have it glyphed. And when you glyph chain heal, you get that extra 3-4 second of cooldown on your chain heal. So it's kind of up in the air as to what you should be throwing out. I personally, on my shaman, I use healing surges. They're fairly efficient. They're fairly high mana cost to use them back to back. But if you stand close to the ads as they die, you're going to get your mana back anyways, along with that buff. So with shamans, you just want to move in, throw down a healing surge on one, and then just continue on to the next ones and just spam healing surge. For monks and paladins, monks have the ability to drop those spheres on the ground, the healing spheres. Those are actually really strong for this fight, particularly since you could drop them in the path of an ad or two. and they're going to heal it up really quickly as they move through them. For paladins, you're broken anyways. Just heal. It's just
most balanced class.
Yeah, exactly. If you're finding it difficult to get the ads healed up in your area, I suggest using a cooldown. I don't believe Guardian of Ancient Kings will actually target the ads, so be wary of using that. You're probably going to want to use that ability at kind of the point in the fight where the ads are actually converging into the center during that burst amount of damage. But yeah, for paladins, there's not a whole lot for how to heal them. It's just do what you normally do and just heal everything anyways.
Pretty much. Heal it all, kill it all, you'll win. That's what they say. So just a couple of tips and tricks. One of the things that I think we forgot to mention is that when Immersus disperses himself, you can actually see where those ads are going. So they'll fly out from the center of them, and you can kind of spot the room as that's happening. So if you have things like your mushrooms as a druid, death and decay if you're going to slow them as a death knight, or any other AoE things that you need to target on the ground, you can kind of scope out what side of the room is going to get the most benefit from that and drop them all there, and then spread back out and take care of your own sides. But it's just a heads-up fight. I think it's pretty easy, and I think probably most people have gotten it down. But hopefully this helps a little bit if you haven't, and keep going after it.
If nothing else, hopefully it helps people get through the encounter a little bit quicker if they're on farm.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can always speed up those kills now that there's that website that tracks speed kills. Definitely. So has it been a month now since BlizzCon? Almost a month. And a gigantic bomb got dropped at BlizzCon, which was they're totally changing up the raid sizes. Now we've got LFR, which is going to remain LFR, but will be anywhere between 10 and 25 players.
Yay!
Yay,
make it
what?
easier to keep doing LFR. You'll be able to get it done.
Wait, make it easier to keep doing LFR?
Well,
Raiders are still doing
to start LFR. I don't do LFR. I try to avoid it. But then we've also got Flex, which is turning into normal. Woo! And it's going to be a 10 to 25 man. And then normal is going to be called heroic in the future, and that'll be 10 to 25 men as well. So they've taken Flex and just called that the technology, and they're applying it to the other raids. And then our new progression focus is called Mythic, and that's going to be a 20-man raid.
Ooh.
So obviously a lot of changes. You guys aren't too happy about it. I'm pretty excited about it. So let's just break it down. I kind of wanted to have a little open forum about this because this is a pretty huge change. The last time they did something like this was in BC when they got rid of 40-man raids. So Maticus, you're in a 25-man club. What are your thoughts on it? What are you guys planning on doing? Have you guys been talking about this a lot? I would imagine so.
Okay, so when the news came out of BlizzCon that we were dropping from 25, from 25 to 20 for, Mythic rating, I'll be honest, my heart kind of sank because we do 25-man raids and we carry 25 to 30 people is what we have on our roster, which is kind of like the norm for most 25-player raiding guilds. And in the long run, when the expansion comes out, this kind of means that I have to release 5 players from my roster or just tell them, hey, we're not going to bring you into, Mythic. It sucks, but this is the way Blizzard wants to go, and I have to make the hard call of essentially cutting 20% of my roster, so to speak. So I'm not too pleased about that. It's really disappointing. I've been a GM since the start of Wrath, and it's never really easy to tell someone, hey, you're going to be on the bench, or hey, we have to let you go from the raid team because you're not quite up to you're not quite what we're looking for right now, and it sucks having to make those conversations. And I have a hard enough time doing that with one person, much less 5. And I just kind of told my team right off the bat that look, this is the businessy kind of decision that it's going to eventually come, and I'm sorry, but the hammer is going to come down at some point. So, for the time being, we're going to focus on the now. We're trying to clear out Siege of Orgrimmar and Heroic. We're 3 or 14, but we want to get as far as we can until the next expansion. Obviously, we have a couple months away. I don't know when it's going to come out. I'm sure, we can start a pool with the rest of the Blizz Pro team. Maybe we can have a pool when the expansion is going to come out. I don't know. But when that happens, that's when that call will be made about who's going to, who can stick around and who's going to have to find a new home. Obviously, we've got, 30-plus raiders that want to raid. But mathematically speaking, we can only bring in 20. There's only so much we can really do about it. Thankfully, though, the normal mode stuff is flexible from 10 to 25. So whatever our bench is going to be then can come in for those fights and get some raiding action in that way. So that was kind of like my initial stance to it. And I just told my guys, don't worry about it right now. Let's just focus on killing Garrosh again on heroic. Just do all that stuff. We'll worry about Warlord stuff when it comes out, and I'll make the call then. And I told them, like, look, I'll make sure you guys get taken care of. I have a lot of contacts on my server. I know a lot of other guilds, a lot of GMs. I'll definitely try to help find homes for you people in the event that happens. So I'm assuming, actually, maybe you guys can help me out with this, since you guys are both 10-man or 10-player stuff. You guys are probably looking to be expanding your roster. So I guess whatever we're letting go from the 25-man section, you guys will be looking to pick up and recruit. That's my guess.
Maybe.
Right?
Lukian, how are you going to handle this? Are you guys going to merge, or are you going to recruit up to 20?
Well, I find myself in a bit of a unique situation being in a guild like Twisted Empire. Twisted Empire is a massive guild. We currently have 5 or 6 10-man raid teams going at the moment. So for us, it's going to kind of be resituating how we're kind of doing our raiding community. And it's going to somewhat be hard because we have, as I said, 5 different raid teams, and all of which have been fairly successful in their progression up to now. So them telling those players that we're going to be trying to put together a Mythic raid team, and whether you make the cut or whatnot, it's going to have to completely change the raiding mentality in the guild. Now, it's going to be really tough for us. So I'm actually probably planning on doing a lot of outside recruiting into the guild for Mythic-ready raiders for those spots for people who don't want to leave their current raid teams, because I'm sure we have a lot of raiders in Twisted Empire that are happy with their current raid teams, that don't want to shift, that don't want to move. And I don't want to create any sort of like animosity between the different raid teams and stuff like that. So it's kind of an interesting spot to be in. Now, Maticus, you mentioned that you were going to have to cut a bunch of players from your raid team. Now,
yes.
Have you considered the fact that generally during expansions, most 25-mans actually lose players anyways because of the expansion changeover? So you're losing 5 or so players is probably going to happen naturally anyways.
You're right.
Whereas my picking up players is going to be, from a 10-man perspective, I'm going to have to find 10 more people on top of whoever I lose in the transition.
Well, I can help find 5 of those players for you. Too. So they'll have my utmost recommendation.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a really interesting change, and I mean, obviously my situation's a little bit different, but I think there's so much opportunity for different things to happen. Our guild is looking at a couple. We might merge with another 10-man that's at pretty close to the same progression that we are. But I think the 10-man thing is probably more of a difficult transition in some ways. Like Maticus, you're not going to have to worry about a leadership shift at all.
Ours is already in place. Like, that's already been done, right? So
you've got your leadership. You're gonna reduce your raid size slightly, which sucks. I mean, yeah, that's a bummer. But with us, we've got this really well-oiled machine, a 10-man that's been doing really well on progression, and so I can speak up a little bit. So, we've got this leadership that's been in place, and it's been working with this team now for a couple of years. And the idea of merging with another 10-man, and then do we maintain the leadership? Do we combine it? Are there 7 officers or something like that? Like what's going to happen? So I think that we're probably going to merge, but until it gets closer, we're trying to put it off and try not to think about it too much, and just focus on finishing out this tier. But I am incredibly excited about it. I got a chance to talk to Ian Hazakostas at BlizzCon, And
That's how you pronounce his name.
Hazukost? I think so.
I had no. I don't know. Just like I was like has.
Those Norwegian or whatever it is names, I'm out.
Something.
No thanks. No, so one of the things that he was excited about as a developer, which is always really exciting to hear as a player, is that they're going to be able to tune all of their encounters really well. They're going to be able to say, we can expect you to have this many players. We can expect you to at least have a good subsection of the classes that are available. And we can do really cool things like give rogues this thing that only they can do during an encounter that makes the class a little bit more glamorous. And I think, in that aspect, they're going to be able to make all of the classes appealing. And there's always going to be a fight where this one class gets to do this one thing that's really awesome.
Yeah, what was that example that he gave? I think it was like a boomkin or a mage tank on
the mage
and
yeah,
like
Girl's
that.
Lair. Mage tank in the first encounter, Girl's Lair.
Yeah, that's right.
Which was, I don't know how many people in the chat room have rated it, or how many people watching have rated that back when it was current, but
back in my day.
Back in my day, it was a lot of fun. As a caster, I played a mage in BC, and getting to tank that fight felt really empowering. So I think it's going to be a good thing in the end, a little growing pains, but, people will find their way. Definitely.
Yeah, on that note, something to consider. If you look at kind of the rating in the past, we've kind of gone through different stages of rating. I mean, when you look at BC, there was 10-man raids, that being Karazhan was a 10-man only raid. You couldn't bring in 25 people into Karazhan. It was a 10-man specific raid, and it's considered still to be one of the best rating in it's history, right? People loved Karazhan. Okay, maybe Matt didn't love Karazhan, but a lot of people loved Karazhan. You look at as you move forward, like we went into ICC and Alduar and all that sort of stuff. You had the separation between 10-man and 25, where 25 was actually more difficult. And because of that, they openly stated 25 is going to be more difficult. So they actually tuned the encounters for 25-man and made them easier for the 10-man of the same encounters. Then you look at Cataclysm, and they said, okay, we're going to tune these equally, and it's going to be the same difficulty with the same reward, 10-man, 25-man. And that's where kind of rating has kind of fallen off, in my opinion. I think having only one rating difficulty at Mythic at 20 is going to be great for the tuning and for the encounter design, because it's going to allow them to do things that they have not been able to do in the past because of the change that they made in Cataclysm. Because if you look at some encounters going from Cataclysm and on, certain things just did not work for 25 men that worked great for 10. Or say an encounter, just an example, Council of Elders in Throne of Thunder. As a 25-man, that encounter was drastically easier because you could completely avoid one mechanic with the Frostbitten debuff. You could just say, okay, on heroic mode, we're just not going to heal through that person at all. We're just going to battle res them because we have 3 battle reses. In 10-man, you didn't have that option. You had 1 battle res. So you had to figure out a way to heal that person out. So now with it being 20-man only, I think we're going to see much better encounters. The fact that I hate that I'm going to have to recruit 10 people is somewhat deterred by the fact that I think we're going to have better encounters and better rating.
Oh, not just that, though. You also got to think that with one difficulty, it makes tuning that much easier, and that means they can pump out like more stuff quicker because they don't have to spend that amount of time balancing both the 10-man variant and the 25-man variation. So there's always that too, right?
That's a really good point. And I think, people who are talking about how Blizzard isn't taking into account the players or anything like that, I think the fact that they're making everything flexible so that, if your raid team is a little bit larger and you still want to play with those people,
right,
but you can find a way to diplomatically reduce your raid size for Mythic, you still got to play with those people and you're still going to take your friends to them, and you can go back in and do it with casual friends if you want to. I think it's a really good change. I think they're doing a good job. Really good
job. I think it's going to be interesting raiding in next expansion.
Yeah.
Particularly with the normal modes and heroic modes being flex. I think that's going to add a lot of diversity to the raiding spectrum.
Oh yeah, and it'll stretch out the content.
I'm trying to remember what the release schedule for the thing was. I think the last update I heard was you can't do Mythic until after you clear the new heroic tier.
Yeah, which is considered to be normal mode now.
Right. And the Mythic stuff won't come out anyways until a week after the raids are open.
Correct.
Yeah, and so I'm hoping
Yeah.
that the expansion's going to come out. We'll have a week where nothing's open, so we can actually level up and not worry about it. And then raids will come out, and then Mythic. So 3 weeks into the expansion, I would expect to see Mythic, and then we'll see the race start up with the world's top guilds.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the actual release schedule happens, because if they do it similar to how they did it for this expansion, having the Mythic released on the first raid a week earlier than the next raid, because in this expansion, didn't they do that? They released Mogushan Vaults, and then a week later they open up Mythic on Heart of Fear and Terrace. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, that was an interesting kind of situation where we had 3 different raids come out, and so they gated them interestingly. And I don't know if that's totally accurate, but I seem to recall Ghostcrawler saying that he didn't necessarily like that gating, but they did like the way that Siege came out.
Yeah.
So I think they'll probably shoot for something like that. I think they're becoming very in tune with the community as far as like how they like their content to come out at the beginning of a new content batch. But we'll see, and I'm looking forward to it. So last on our agenda today is our raid leading tip of the day. And Maticus, I'm going to have you go over this. Since this is a topic that's close to your heart, or your vocal cords, I guess.
Well, yeah. I mean, it worked last time, but... Okay, so let's talk about our raid leading tip of the day. Today we're going to talk about yelling. Yelling isn't always effective. I know that we're all in the game because we want to. Well, all those of us that raid, we like to get our boss kills. It's the heart and soul, I guess, of the raid team's success. We also have to remember that at the end of the day, we are raiding with other people behind behind that panda or behind that gnome mage or behind that orc shaman or whatever. That there's someone else actually playing the game behind it. And getting gear is great and all that stuff, but if you have to be treated like an idiot in order to get it, then it does kind of take the fun out for everyone. And so my advice is that you got to be a little bit tactful with how you approach people. I've been doing this for like I said, like many years, and I think each person takes disciplinary action differently than other people. Some people actually react strongly to being not screamed at, but like told really, really firmly and really loudly that they're screwing up. I actually find these guys, like former sports players, like athletes, actually respond really quite well to that type of motivation and stuff. Other people, not so much. And the thing to remember is that a lot of us, we're not really competing for world first or server first. So, if you are, well, geez, that's great, but then you probably don't need this advice anyways from us or from me. But so like I guess the point I'm trying to say is just be mindful of who's on the other end of who you're screaming at. It's not always going to work. Use it very, very sparingly, and don't ever yell at the person. What I try to emphasize to people is that I'm not mad at you per se. I'm more upset at how you're playing, and I know that your ability to play can potentially improve and get better. If you stand in that goddamn fire 10 more times though, that's when I start flipping out. Okay, so there is a definite threshold. So you better learn how to not stand in the fire or that void zone, or actually hit that interrupt, or else I'm going to find someone else to do it for you.
Maticus.
Yes.
The drill sergeant.
I know, right? This is not a democracy, guys. This is a Matt-tatorship right here.
So,
all right, Brian,
now,
you want to take this?
Yeah, on the other side of that, playing the devil's advocate is your lack of aggression. If you don't state yourself strongly enough, is that going to give them the idea that they don't need to worry about the kill, that it's not important, that learning the mechanics isn't important? Do I have to do the research? Well, Maticus isn't really going to yell at me if I don't, so I'll just wing it. I'll look at the dungeon journal or something while we're eating food. I know that, in my experience, you really have to know your people. Some people are going to respond very well, like Maticus said, to that really firm call to, I wouldn't say it's, call to arms, but, more like just a reminder that they have a responsibility to the rest of the people who they're raiding with.
Like a rally
And
cry?
yeah, oh, I see what you did there. So, you know, I think that you need to know your people. I think that different raid leaders attract different kinds of raiders too. So Maticus, you probably attract a particular style of raider.
Yes.
And occasionally you might find someone that doesn't actually fit in with that standard, but you probably for the most part find pretty similar people for your raid team.
Yeah.
And you probably know them pretty well enough, I would guess.
Yeah, I met them at BlizzCon for the first time this month.
How was that?
Yeah, they're just as annoying in real life as they are in game.
He lost 14
yeah.
raiders after he met them at BlizzCon.
Awesome. Well, we'd love to know what you think about raid leading. If you guys have a style that has really spoken to you and worked well, shoot it into our email. It's raidmechanics@gmail.com.
Ooh, I will say, one thing that has worked really well for me,
Yes.
being really disappointed in them.
Like a dad.
Houndstooth, I expected a lot more from you. Your damage should have been much higher. We gave you these trinkets last week, and you just got your 4-piece, and you're still putting up this 90,000 damage. Why not 100,000 damage?
I don't know, Dad. Sorry.
You know,
Is that the Canadian apology? Did I
yeah.
get that right?
I'm sorry.
A
Sorry.
is for adequate.
I'm sorry. I'll do better
Right?
next time.
That's your letter grade. A is for adequate DPS. F, find a new
Terrible.
guild.
Find a new guild. Awesome.
I think
Well,
a lot of the
thanks for
issue-
listening. Oh, what's
Oh,
that?
go ahead. I was just going to say, I think a lot of the issue with that is that people look at like the top end raid guilds, and they look at raid teams like Blood Legion and stuff like that, and they see raid leaders like Rignaros, who is traditionally a really, really aggressive raid leader, and he's one of the top raid leaders in the world, being raid leader Blood Legion. They look at his streams and all that sort of stuff, and they hear him being completely over aggressive and all that sort of stuff, and they feel that that works, so they apply that to their raid team. And taking that sort of mentality, you have to understand that these top guys are playing at a different level, and to bring that sort of mentality into a raid, you have to have that mentality of raider. So again, yeah, just reiterating, you need to know who your raiders are and what kind of raid leading they're actually going to respond to. If you look at teams like Midwinter, who just competed with the at BlizzCon with, I believe they went against Method, is that right?
Yeah, it was Method.
Yeah, they went against Method, that's right. And you look at Midwinter, if you've ever been in any of their streams, they're a lot more of a softer guild. They're really more laid back, a lot more casual about it, even though they're one of the top teams in the world. They just come across as being a lot more casual. So I think you just kind of need to find what works for you and apply it effectively, rather than just taking what works for other people and saying, okay, he's yelling, so I should yell, because that's going to get them motivated.
Yeah, not everyone responds well to Rignaros. I'm sure.
No,
not
no,
even in
definitely
Blood
not.
Legion.
Not even Blood
Seems
Legion
like-
sometimes.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to the Raid Mechanics, guys. Visit blizzpro.tv for all our future episodes, as well as shows like The Edge, The Spotlight, Twizcast, and, of course, the beardy BlizzPro Weekly. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. If you guys have any suggestions, topics that you'd like to see covered, please email them to us or tweet them at us at Raid Mechanics. But that's it. And we're going to sign off now. So thanks for showing up today.
Oh, if
See
you
you
have any
next week.
complaints or concerns or any negative
Just give 'em
feedback,
to
send them
Maticus.
to Houndstooth. Houndstooth.
No, Maticus.
He's got this.
I'll give you Maticus's contact info.
Thanks, man.
All right, guys. See you.
Thanks, guys.